In a world where anything is possible, in a world where the normal and the paranormal reside, Almost Unbelievable brings to you the stories you want to hear, but fear to hear. Join us in the pit.
You've joined the Almost Unbelievable podcast with Katz and Ranty. I'm Katz. You there, Ranty?
I am Katz, and how are you doing today?
I'm doing really well today. I'm looking forward for another story. Just tell me, Ranty, is this story going to be one that maybe scares me? Is it going to be one that maybe gives me a problem to solve? Is it going to be alien-based? Give us a clue.
Well, today's should give you a problem to solve, but I would also go along and say that it's actually a very terrifying story too. So if you're a little bit scared right now, maybe come back another time and listen to the rest of this, because this one is definitely up there with the scare factor.
Well, let me see if I can give you a little story of my own before we start. One that is a true story, and see what you make of it. We'll see if there is a tenuous link to today's story. Are you ready?
Okay.
Now, we all know that the film The Exorcist caused a massive stir when it came out, and it frightened people in theatres. People couldn't sleep. The number of reported ghost sightings and exorcisms shot through the roof. It had a real massive effect on society. And one place where this effect was severely felt was in West Yorkshire, England. Not too far from me at all. I think I can be there in about 20 minutes. And in 1974, there was a certain Mr. Taylor. He was a 31-year-old man, father of 5. Now, Mr. Taylor was a very cheery fellow. He wasn't always cheery. He was prone to small bouts of depression, but generally was a really nice guy, really nice family guy. But he wasn't religious. He had no spiritual side to him whatsoever. However, the rest of his family did, and the Taylor household, they joined a local Christian organization, a church organization called Christian Fellowship Group. Now, Michael started to begin attending the church services. Although he wasn't religious, there was an extremely attractive 21-year-old Mrs. Robinson, or Miss Robinson, who happened to be the preacher. Now, whether that had anything to do with it or not, I have no idea. But it does appear that Miss Robinson and Mr. Taylor started spending a lot of time in each other's company talking about church issues. Now, as this went on, Mr. Robinson's personality, would you believe it or not, changed. He became secretive towards his wife and family. He quite often would forget where he'd been for long periods of time. What's he sounding like at the minute, Ranty?
Well, I know what it's sounding like, but you carry on.
Well, and this all came to a head when he was in utter confusion one day when he happened to be found naked with Miss Robinson. But obviously, he wasn't sure what had happened, and he started to blame his strange behaviour on an evil presence within himself. Now, a local Anglican vicar was called in to perform an exorcism on Mr. Taylor, and this exorcism lasted all night on a chilly October night, 1974. Now, the vicar claimed that he and other ministers apparently drove out over 40 demons from Mr. Taylor. These demons gave the name bestiality, incest, lewdness, blasphemy. However, the clergyman did say that they gave up on the exorcism with 3 demons still left that they couldn't quite get rid of. They were going to come back another time. And those demons were called murder, violence, and insanity. And they were still in Mr. Taylor. So with a return exorcism planned to get rid of those people, they went home. But a few hours later, Mr. Taylor was found covered in blood. Now, he claimed the blood belonged to Satan himself, but the shocking tragedy is that blood actually belonged to his wife, Christine, whose body was later found in the family home. And Mr. Taylor was found not guilty by reasons of insanity. What do you think of that?
Well, I don't know, actually. I'm
Not a great deal to say, is there?
I mean, what do you want me to say? I mean, by all accounts, if you say it the way you've said it, it sounds to me as if this guy just had the perfect excuse to commit something like that. And I don't know. I mean, it's just...
It sounds horrific, doesn't it?
It's horrific. Yes, it is absolutely horrific. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Absolutely horrific. I mean, the idea that his poor wife went through that, the fact that he was in some way having some kind of affair with a different lady, and then on the night that he got quote unquote exorcised, he he had these demons still in him that, well, if you believe that, allowed him to then just have free reign to go ahead and murder his wife and get away with it in court. It's astonishing, actually.
It really is. It's a shocking story, and I did check on Google the news. This was a real life event that happened. Now, whether I'm certainly not saying that demons were responsible for that at all, but the murder and the exorcism and the characters involved, although the names might be changed, this is a story that happened. So it did get me thinking about people and being possessed or oppressed by demons, or having things that follow you through your life, supernatural entities. Could today's story perhaps be linked in any way to somebody being followed by a supernatural entity?
Well, funnily enough, today's story is going to be something similar. Not quite as dreaded as that, but definitely similar. And today's guest is called Kai, and Kai is going to tell us a story about a man in a hat, or a hat man, whichever way you choose to call it. And she's going to tell us a story from the start. So without further ado, I'm going to say, Kai, are you there?
All right, thank you. So I was raised in Puerto Rico, and my grandma had some past stuff with, I guess, sensory or stuff like that. I don't know if that's the reason why I get to see all these things. But the first time that I ever experienced any sort of paranormal or unexplained phenomena was around this time. I want to say about 7 or 8, and I was playing hide and seek with my friends in my backyard. And we had this little like laundry shed in the back, and it was just a little wood shed. And, it didn't have light or anything, because it would just be like, you would open a window and you could see just with the sun and stuff like that. So the shed had like multiple stuff in it, but you could, like, as a kid, you could hide anywhere in it. And I want to say it was like 3 or 4 of us, and we were just going around hiding. And I decided to hide in the shed, and the windows were closed, so it was relatively dark, but not really. And as I'm hiding, I see someone like in the shed with me. And honestly, I don't know why. I thought it was my mom. And I just look, and it's not my mom. It's like 6 feet tall. And it's just this black shadow in the corner. And I started feeling very, very uneasy. As a child, you see a shadow figure, you're scared. And I stared at it for like, I want to say 10 seconds, and I bounced. And I told my friends, like, there's somebody in the shed. And they just come in, and we're all seeing stuff. We don't see like the actual figure. So that was like the first time I got dismissed when I told my mom. And that was the first thing that I remember seeing. Afterwards, just growing up, I started seeing more and more stuff. Again with my friends, but this time I was proven to not be seeing this stuff by myself. I was out literally in the street with my friends. We're playing, and out of nowhere, all of us turn, and we see someone standing in the middle of the road. And you probably, have heard of the Hat Man, or, the shadow figure with the hat, or all that stuff. So this shadow figure that we saw in the middle of the road, all of us described it as the same thing. Tall, black, and had like some sort of like trench coat, and it was wearing a hat. So whenever, I realized that all of my friends saw the same thing, and we saw it for like a split second or two. Literally, it was just immediately gone as we saw it. So I was like, oh my God, okay, I'm not seeing this stuff by myself, so I'm not crazy. My friends kind of just like pretended like, oh, well, we did see that, but I guess that was just a fiction over my imagination or something. So that was really hard whenever I told my mother again. And my friends were basically like, I mean, yeah, we did see it, but I don't know, maybe we're kids, type of stuff. And fast forward to, I want to say 2, 3 years later, that's when it really starts getting bad. I was already like in my teen years, maybe like I was like 12 or 13, maybe. Um, I was in the living room watching TV, and the living room is relatively dark because everything's like sort of turned off, but the TV is on. So, you have the TV light, and I don't know how to explain it. So the TV is like in front of me, the sofa is in front of the TV, and next to the TV there's a hallway to the left side. And I'm sitting there with my brother and my mom, and we all of us see a person coming down the hall and turning into the kitchen. At the moment, it was just my brother and my mom and me living in the house. So